share it with other people that could not attend. And we will actually be posting it so that it's available to everyone. You can use the chat or raise your hand to ask questions. Erica's going to help monitor that tonight, and we'll make sure that we get everyone's questions answered. So a quick review, just from, for those of you that have been with us for the last 2 sessions that we've done, logging in is absolutely critical. You won't get very far if you do not log in. So if any of you have not had a chance to review or attend Monday's session about how to create your user credentials, I would encourage you to do that as your first point of business. And we're here to help you if you have trouble with it. Once you've set your credentials up, you'll be good to go. What you had on the old system will not work any longer. You do need to create new ones. So just a reminder to do that. Today, we're going to talk about actually updating memberships and updating non-financial information for your members. So this is really geared very heavily to the membership officers, though of course we're welcome, any chapter officer to join in on this. So we looked earlier today, we looked at the national directory, running chapter officers, officer updates. And so now we're going to move into the membership part of things. We're also going to talk about mid-year updates. That's a brand new feature that we're offering online. And we hope that's going to be of a real benefit to everybody. So let's take a look at non-financial updates first. And let me log in. I'm going to do a different chapter this time than using Poor Earl again. I wanted a chapter that had a few more members so that we can see a little bit more. So what you'll see here is, again, League's homepage. And whoops, I thought I logged in. Let me just refresh my screen. There we go. Okay. So once you're logged in, you'll then see this My Profile and Log Out buttons up at the top of the screen. That lets you alert you that you are logged in. And we're going to go right to Chapter Resources, where we've been going most of the time. And here we've got, under Manage Chapter, we have 2 different options. We have non-financial chapter updates, and this is in the same place where we did officer updating before. And then we have actually the submitting new and renewing members. Let's look at the non-financial first, just because this is really very straightforward and takes the least amount of time to show you. And you'll remember this page if you were with us earlier about all the different options that you have that are non-financial in nature. This time we're going to look down at this the first column, the second item, chapter membership page. And this will let you go in to update members. If you have address changes, you have people that you need to update their emails, date of birth, phone numbers, anything like that. And what you're seeing right now is just a small subset of some records that I updated so that they would be current, to give us some records to look at. You can select your person off of the list. And what you'll get is a very basic interface screen. There's 2 different places that you can edit information. You can see there's this pencil line over here to the far right of their address. And then there's another pencil down here underneath, about in the middle of the screen. This first button, first edit option, lets you actually change their address. And again, it's a straightforward address interface. And this is where you can also do phones, email, anything of that nature. If you just had something like a date of birth or an email and you don't need to do the whole address, you can just come down here to this bottom panel and update their email address or their date of birth, whatever you might need to do. And I'm not going to actually make any changes on these records. I will say there is another option here. If there's person's primary address, if you wanted to add a second type of address. And here's some of the different options we have. And some of these are obviously, for a chapter, a property address, a meeting location, but things like, an alternate address for shipping purposes, you can do that as well. So this screen is actually also accessible to you when you're actually putting in a payment for somebody. But again, this is where you would come if you just want to make these kinds of changes and that you're not doing anything with money. So like I said, that's pretty much all that's going on in this screen. I actually have asked for an additional edit to this page so that you can search by ID number. because it is not always the most helpful to be able to have to search by name when you have a particularly long chapter. So I've asked them to add that, and you'll see that as soon as that's been added to the program. And I will remind you too, again, that when the system goes live, under here, under National Directory, on this menu option, you will see a new email box that you can contact us directly for problems that you might be having with membership processing and related features, so that your messages will get to us quickly. Okay, let's talk about actual membership processing. And what this is called the chapter portal, similar to what we called it on the other system. And you will see only the chapters that you are entitled to do things for. If you are a membership officer at more than one chapter, you'd have multiple options here, and you would select the one that you want to work with. We only see one option here, and we're going to say select. What you're seeing on this screen is a record of batches that have been submitted, and you can see this group ID number. This is the equivalent of what we have been calling a batch number on the current system. And ones that have been finished and paid show the payment option, whereas batches that are open from we were doing testing and we never finished with them, they appear under this manage column. Meaning that they can still be accessed. So if you start a batch, you don't have to finish it the day you start it. You can come back and pick right back up where you were. We really advise you not have more than one open at a time, because it could get a little difficult for record keeping then, but it is an option. I want to talk about this delete button. And we're actually going to go ahead and delete one of these batches. Let's say you've just totally made some type of error with your record keeping. Maybe you got some people with the same name confused and you entered the wrong member, and you just want to start over. That's what this is for. And if I click delete, it does ask you up here at the top, are you sure you want to delete this batch? Just so that you don't do it in error, you have to make a conscious decision of doing that. You say, okay, it's gone. And the members that might have been in that batch have reverted to their prior status, so that you can pick them up again if you need to. Now you can see we've got two different options here. We've got mid-year membership changes, and we've got adding new members and doing renewals. Let's go through the new members and renewals first, as that's what you're going to use the most often. So once I select that option, you get something here. It asks you to pick a billing year from the drop down. Now, this time of year, the only thing you're going to see is 2025. When we move into later in the year, there will be some other options on this screen. Come July 1st, you'll have an option to say, yes, this is for 2025 people, and they're half-year new members, and you'll be able to make that selection. Once we issue the fall billing for the 2026 billing year, and there are people that are out there still renewing for 2025, but you also have people that will be sending in their 2026 dues. You'll then see 2 years here as an option. You do need to process them in separate groups depending on the year. And that's something, again, that we can talk more about in another session as a reminder when it comes up. But for now, I'm going to just say 2025. And you can see there's a little field down here. It says the year of 2025, 405 people. That just gives you a sense of how many unrenewed members there are at any given time. Once I say save, this will create a new group number. So now you can see there's this group ID 350. And I can go to manage this chapter. Everything's blank right now. It's an empty batch. There's nobody in it. And there are a couple of different ways that you can get members into the batch. Let me kind of talk about them in reverse order. Scanning members. If you have a barcode scanner and you're using that to enter your renewals, you would come here. And what you get basically is an empty screen. You would be clicking on that barcode and clicking on your records, scanning them one after the other. And you would see this blank screen here would populate with information from each of those barcodes as you enter it. We do ask that you do 25 at a time, and then add them to your batch, and then you can come back and do more. And we're saying this right now just because we aren't sure. If you tried to scan 100 of them right off the bat, we're not sure about the response time. And that's something we're going to have to monitor as we go forward. It may well be in the future that you're going to be able to enter 150. But for now, just to keep things sane for everyone, we're saying try doing 25 at a time, adding them to your batch, and then you can come back to this screen. Now, your other options for getting members into your batch is to add an existing member. This allows you to pick people that are currently renewing. And you have options here, different ways that you can select them. Depending on the size of your chapter, let me pull this up and enlarge this just a little bit. Let me just let these people in that are in the waiting room. Hang on just one second. Okay. Let me just enlarge this. Depending on the size of your chapter, you may be able to see all of your members on just a page or two. For larger chapters, you can see this particular one. There's 21 pages of people that we could scroll through. They're all in order right now by last name alpha. You can resort by ID number, family type, whatever, works for you to have them in any order you want. And you can see there's a little box in front of each of the IDs. You can just go through the list and you can check people off. And you can also search for records. If you just have one or two people that you're doing, you could type in their ID number, or you can search by name. So let's try clicking on some. And you can see there's a direction here. It says control plus the checkbox to select multiple records. Before you can go, you need to pick whoever you've got on page 1. Then you go to page 2, page 3, whatever it might be. You do need to do a page at a time, unless you have said show all of your records at once. And there is an option to show everything. I believe it's down at the bottom of the screen. Here it is. You can change the page size, and you could say, all 405. And you do need to do this click button, because here's what happens if you don't do this. I'm going to just start clicking some records. And you can see that sometimes it's dropping people off as I'm clicking and they're not there anymore. But if you do control, hold your control key down and click, you won't lose anybody. So now I've selected 6, 7 records. And I'm going to go down to the bottom of my screen. Okay, wait, I need to make my screen a little smaller here so I can show you what we're doing. Sorry. And now it's disappeared, so I can't get to it. I'm going to back out and come back to this screen. Hang on, everyone, just a sec. Sorry about that. Now that I've actually enlarged that screen, you see how to do that. I'm not going to do that again right now. Okay, let's try this again. I'm in my chapter. And we're going to add members. Okay. So I'm going to just go through, like I said, and click a handful of people. Control, 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 click, click, control, click. And then I say, okay. So now that front page that you see, it's kind of black, it's blank in the background. And we'll just give it a second here. And now it's added these people to your list. So all of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people are in the batch. And you've got a running total down here at the bottom that you can see. And so for each person, it's showing you their name, their ID number, that they expired December 2024. You see a breakdown of their membership type at the national and division and chapter level. The national dues and the division dues are displaying so that you can see it quickly. The chapter dues rate is not showing because, of course, you don't send that to us. So we did not include that information. Once you've got people in your screen, there's other things that you can do with them. As I said, you can click right on somebody's ID number. Anything that's underscored, underlined is a clickable field. And now you could go, oh, his address changed. I want to update that. And you could make those changes on here. And then you would simply go back to this record, to this list. You also have options. So you've got a column, this is going to bill people through December 2025, the total amount that they owe. And let's say you made a mistake. no, we really didn't mean to put Robert Allen in this batch. We're going to click remove. And you're only removing him from the batch. You are not deleting him from the database. You're just saying, nope, didn't want to pay him right now. On the other hand, you may have someone, so now we have Stanley, who is currently an individual member, but is upgrading to family. Let's go through and do an upgrade. And you can see there's other family members already on this chapter that you have the option to add or change who's listed on their membership. You know, maybe they're adding one of their young children to the family membership, and this would let you do that. Let's actually upgrade somebody. So we click modify. And you see their current levels at all of the different types. Drop downs are here based on what the chapter offers. If a chapter doesn't offer one of these other membership types, you won't see it on this list. But let's say, let's upgrade to family. And we're going to upgrade to family across the board. No, we're not going to do state life. We're just going to do family. So now you do need to enter birth dates. And I'm just going to pick somebody's date here. And this is Stanley's birth date. And now we have the option to add other people. So let's say that we are adding another adult family member. If you know their ID number, you can put it in. It doesn't require it, but if it is somebody that's a current member, you know, maybe you had two members that got married, you would enter that. Otherwise, you would just come here and enter the first and last name. An email address is required. And a date of birth. And I'm just, again, going to pick something. Actually, I picked what would be a youth member. So let me go back. It will tell you that this isn't an adult member and will make you pick a different date. And you need to use the button to say add family members for each person that you're adding. And that's direction. Those directions are down here in red, but just as a reminder. And as you're adding them, you can see they're appearing up at the top of the screen now. So let's say, okay, we've added his spouse, and now let's say we're going to add one of their children. And I'm just picking a record that's already out here. Yes, my address is fine. And add family member. So now we have two up here. And we're going to say, okay, that's everybody. So again, in the red down here, when you're finished adding all family members, click submit. And this will take us back to the batch detail. So now here's Stanley showing a new dollar amount that he owes because now he's a family membership. And if we wanted to change who those family members are, we would click add or edit. It would take us back to that screen. And maybe they decided, you know, Lucy's not going to join right now after all. And we could remove her from the list. Okay, so that's upgrading. Downgrading works in a very similar way. Let's say, you know, for some reason, somebody was entered incorrectly. You know, maybe they're a full-time undergraduate student and are entitled to the lower rate. Or somebody's going from family down to regular. You could do the same thing. And so now you can see we've downgraded someone to a student level. So this is how you work with your current records, all of your renewals. So now we've added some people. We could easily go back, add existing members. We're back on this list again. We could, you know, go to another page. Maybe we're doing the G's now and we're going to add some more people. We're doing control click. And again, I'm just randomly picking records and I'm going to say, okay. And then let's say, oh, you think you've got everybody. And then you've got one last person that you didn't enter yet. Well, instead of paging through the whole list, we'll just add someone else by ID number this time. So now, and I'm going to just pick an ID that I see sitting here on the screen, but I can enter the ID number and I say find. It brings up that person right away. And I'm going to say, okay. And now they'll be added to the batch. So now let's talk about adding your new members, which you can do right in the same batch. No reason to separate them as long as they're all for the same membership year. You have a couple of options for adding new people. If it's someone that was a prior member and they know their ID number or you still have it in your records, you can enter that here. You can also search by their email address or their name to try to find them. You can also search for people that may belong to another chapter. So let's say someone else in your area is now going to join your chapter in addition to their other chapter. They have their membership card, you've got their ID number. So let's say I'm going to join this chapter. So I search for my own record and I come up on the list and I can say I'm going to add myself. The other option, if let's say there was nothing found, or if I decided, oh, this person lives in Maryland, that's not the one that I want. The person I want is in Ohio. You would click the add new button. So let's go ahead and add me first, and then we'll go back and do a true new person. And I apologize that it's a little slow. We are on a test system. The servers are currently being loaded with thousands and thousands of our current records right now. So response time is a little low. Okay, and it takes me right to this screen where it asks, what am I doing? And I'm going to just do individual. And right now you only see options for full year. Later on this year, you will have options for the half year and the year and a half membership. And it'll be on this drop down. And there we go. So now if I go to the end of the list, there I am. So now let's actually do a brand new record. And it does ask you to search for the person by name first. To see if they are out there. You know, maybe they are a member of another chapter and you don't know that. Let's see, let me put in what is probably a really bogus ID number just to see if anything comes up. Okay, didn't find anything. So we're going to do add new. And this is where you're entering all of the information about them. And unfortunately, there is this CAPTCHA thing that does have to be entered. We're talking with them about that, but for now, it's here. Oh, and somebody already has. Let's just do Sid then. It will tell you that there's a record already out there with that same email address, and it does prompt you then to go look again and make sure that you're not adding a duplicate. I actually really have to ask about this CAPTCHA. It's not supposed to be here. But we won't focus on that for right now. I just want you to see how the rest of the system works. So now I've added their name and address. And I will get to the screen that asks for information about the member type. And we'll do individual again. And maybe they're going to do a state life membership. And now if we go all the way to the end, here they are. Division state life, $30, more than the $1.50 everyone else is paying, $50 national dues. So let's say we've got all of your people are in your batch now. You've entered everybody that you wanted to. We're going to go to do next. And here's our dollar amount. You will have options for payments now, and you can see right now, all it is either you're gonna mail a payment into us, you're gonna send us a check, or you're gonna pay now. You will have the options for PayPal and the ACH payments, when we are live. I'm gonna say pay now, though, because I do wanna take this through to completion. And what this does is takes you basically to a shopping cart where you can finish the transaction. And actually, I was incorrect. It's mail your payment or pay now on that screen. The payment options themselves will be here on this screen. Total amount, $775. Payment details, either you click here to do PayPal and transit to the PayPal screens, or, and you can see we do have other payments that are starting to populate out here. We're gonna just do a check number. We're gonna pretend we're doing an ACH online, and we're gonna just say, "Hey, that way." And you'll get this screen. This is your confirmation that everything's been completed. You will get an email immediately, which is something new that you hadn't gotten before. You're going to get an email that has a copy of your tally sheet and a list of the members that you sent. And let's say there's a problem and you don't get that email, or you've deleted it by mistake, or for some reason you need to get it again. There's a couple of things you can do. First, while you're still on this page that has the breakdown, the confirmation of what you've just submitted with your payment, you can print this page out to have for your records. Let's say that your chapter, the membership officer enters the memberships, but your treasurer has to issue the payment. What you can do is send an email, a copy of this invoice, to anyone else you want at your chapter. And that could be their indicator that, oh, we need you to cut a check now. Here's the dollar amount. Please send this. Or you can send another copy of it to yourself. The other thing that you can do is go to your profile. And when this screen comes up, there will be a copy of, if we click on About Me, this My Participation button, this will have a record of emails that have been sent to you. And under Communications, you'll see dates and times when payments were applied. An order was processed, a donation from your chapter might have been processed. There is a delay right now because of all the activity going on the system, that the batch we just did is not going to appear. But this first one here is one that I did earlier today. So I want you to see this. We can click on it. And basically it's a copy of the email. This is what you'll get. This is what your email is going to look like, the batch number. And all the way down here at the bottom of the screen is an option to, okay, wait, let me close this one. Let's do this one. Here's the option. Here's your tally sheet. So this will come as an attachment to the email, and you can open this up. And I know this will look familiar to everyone. Looks just like it does now, breaks everything down. And then we can also go back, and here's the list of the people that were in that batch. Details of who was there. And again, these are not the people we just did. This was earlier today. I don't want to wait for that other screen to populate, but I did want you to see this so that you know. And again, you could email this to anyone else you wanted, to your own address, to someone else, whatever you might need to do. Okay, we're going to go back to manage the chapter again. So that's really all there is to entering the new or renewing members. But let's talk about the other option that's out there to handle mid-year upgrades. This is something that you have not been able to do online to this point in time, but we have added this as a feature now, that if someone is going from, individual to family, which is one of the most common that we see, you can come into here, you can say, oh, we're going to update some people, or you have someone that's buying a life membership during the course of the year. If they're changing their type at the time you're doing their renewal, you would use the renewal process and you would update them using that modify button. But for people that are already current for 2025 and are making a change, you would come here to this mid-year membership changes. So when you click on this, this is going to open another batch. So you can see we've got this group ID number now, a different batch. And you can select the member, and this will only pull up your current people. Because if they're not current, you shouldn't be trying to upgrade them. Let's pick somebody off of this list. Let's say this individual is buying a life membership. And I could have also entered their ID number directly. Again, multiple ways to search for the record, just as we did before. So it's a simple matter now of going to modify. And I'm going to say this person's upgrading to a life. They're going to buy a life membership, and they're doing a state life as well. And then they're still individual at the chapter level. Takes it a second to update. And there we go. There's their life membership. And you can see they owe $950. They're already a current member, so they get the $50 credit for the national dues they've already paid. And then from here, it's a simple matter of either you have other people that you want to add here, or chances are it might be just one or two people at a time that are doing something like this. And we're going to click next, and you go through the same process of checking out. And the same thing will happen. You'll get an email that it's been processed and that it's in our hands at that point. And then that email communications log will have the detail for you to go back and review as well. And we will just do another check payment here just for the sake of putting this through. And that's all we've got. So now we've covered a lot of information. I want to go ahead and entertain questions at this point. Erica, do you have a sense of what people are? I see that there is stuff in the chat.
Oh, yes, we do have a few questions. I've been able to answer some of them, but we
Okay.
do have some questions such as the ability to edit names.
Okay, editing names is not something that is allowed. We can change things at the national staff level, but for a variety of reasons, and some of you may remember, this was outlined in the memo that we sent to all the chapters back in October. You will not be able to change names. We're dealing with a computer. It does not know the difference between you correcting someone's name that was typed incorrectly versus truly changing a name. And data integrity is of paramount importance to us. As an example, in the past, we have had people that have tried to pass a life membership from, say, father to son, by simply changing the name. No, we're not going to, do things like that. So name changes will still need to come through us. I'm sorry it's awkward when you've made a typo and you want to just fix it yourself. I understand that. But again, there's no way for the system to know that you're not truly changing the name. What else you got, Erica?
We have the question of how can I add a member that belongs to another chapter without them paying the national fee?
Okay, and the only people that are allowed to pay without paying national dues again are life members. That is a benefit of being a life member, and it is limited to them. So if you have someone that's joining your chapter and they're not a national life member, they will have to pay the dues again. Next one.
CAPTCHA, the RA CAPTCHA is a huge problem for our chapter if that's enabled. Typically, anything post login should not require that.
Yeah, and that is something that I've already got a note. I'm going to send it to the programming team first thing tomorrow morning. I don't believe it should be there. I believe it's an error, but yeah, we'll address that. I understand exactly. I agree.
Okay, we had a question of can we see who's in the batch? And I answered that yes, you can if you click the manage button before it's submitted.
Yep.
Let's see what else.
Yeah, and if you have anything that you did answer that might be of general interest to everybody, let's go ahead and put that out there again too.
Definitely. Is it possible to print or copy your work? Yes, it is.
Yep.
Mary showed the various options that we are have available for that. Let's see what else we have. Can you build a batch over several days, or do you have to complete it each time you enter a day's worth?
No, you can definitely open your batch, say tonight, and maybe it takes you 2 or 3 days or 4. You can come back and keep editing that same batch until you've entered everyone that you want to submit. So it does stay open. Obviously we ask that you not leave them open for an interminable amount of time because, then you've got people that are waiting a long time to get their cards while you're adding other people to the batch. But, it's certainly, you do not have to complete it in one sitting. No.
Next question, can you view the tally sheet before the batch is submitted to confirm the numbers?
Yeah, let's take a look real quick. Let's go back to one of these batches. And I guess I did neglect to show you that there is an option to, let me pick one of these other batches that's open. Hopefully there's some people that are in here that we can just take a quick look at. If not, I'll add some other new members. You can see there's a button up here now, print tally sheet. So this will let you look at it before you are committing to the final payment. And it's being a little slow. I'm sorry. There we go. Here it comes. And again, please keep an eye on things like, response time when you're doing this real time. If you continue, if things are running this slowly, that's something to alert us about because we will want to know that. It simply should not take this long. But there you go. You can see it then. So this is before you've committed and you could decide, oh, wait, I really had 3 other members to add. And you can go back and do that. And you can see you've got options to save this, to print it, whatever you might like to do. Next.
Next question, is there something else we need to do for ACH besides enter an account number? Seems like we would need more info.
No, this is totally within your control. You will need, like right now, like if you call to pay one of your own personal bills online and do you want to pay using a checking account? And they ask you for your bank routing number and they ask you for your account number. Same thing. You'll enter that information, done. And it's considered, from our standpoint, it's considered an immediate payment, the same as a PayPal payment. And your items, membership cards will be processed in a priority order.
Next question is, can we still mail in a check for a batch?
Yes, you can still mail in a check. Absolutely. We are not doing away with that option. And likewise, we're not doing away with the option for you to still send your items in on paper, but we really are trying to, probably close to 80% or more of our chapters right now are using the online portal. And we're trying to really move everyone to this more paperless option, but we are not discontinuing the other option.
Says, next question is, how do we handle a member who has passed away and family does not want to receive any mail?
For now, I would say contact us so that we can mark them deceased. I need to work through some options and see if that's a field that you can edit, that you could go to that person's record and mark them deceased. That field may not be there yet. If it's not, then it's something that we'll look to add because you should have that ability to basically cancel someone's membership because they passed away. So just stay tuned with us on that.
Next question is regarding printing out membership cards. It says, what about couples that have different last names? It's confusing when cards come with no addresses printed on them.
So that is actually your indicator. If there's no address printed, it means that the card just preceding it is the other family member. They print in family member, in order so that you do have them together, especially for that reason, if the names are different. So you might have, Joe Smith and, Jane Johnson, and Jane's card would not have an address because it indicates it goes with the person right before it in that list of cards.
The next question says, will there be enhanced roles for division officers, national directors, being able to see all members in the division, national officers, e-boards, being able to view any member?
That is something I have asked for, and I believe it's in place. We will have to find out once we go live. If, we'll ask some of you perhaps to log in and try, but it is in the matrix of things that we've asked for so that, you can help, your chapters in your state and division, with membership issues. It is definitely something we wanted to have. So if it's not there, we will get it there.
Marion, we have Molly asking about the birth date question is referring to the family members and being able to add them into the systems. They were indicated that they don't typically gather birth dates. They make them up to indicate if they are adult or student.
Yeah, um, our bylaws do require this information. We do need to know that someone is an adult member of the family membership versus a youth or a student or a minor child on a family membership, partly so that we simply know when they need to age out of those memberships. So we are asking you to put in accurate information. And I shouldn't even be saying this, but to be honest with you, I'm not going to know if you put in an invalid date. There's nothing that's going to, clue me in that you've done that. Um, I don't want to say that's a workaround because it's really not what we want you to do, but a date is required of some kind, and it needs to match the membership type. If they are a youth, they must be under 17. If they're student, they've got to be between 18 and 21. Family memberships are limited to 2 adults and minor age children under 17. That's all I can tell you on that.
Next question, does each family member have to have their own email address?
Yes, they do. There is no sharing of email addresses anymore. This database software requires unique email addresses.
Next question, I was not in the earlier meeting, so I cannot log in.
Okay, and nobody can log in yet because the new system's not up and running. So you will have a chance to go back and review that session about how to create your login credentials. Again, you have to wait until the system goes live. We're doing all this training ahead of time so that you'll be in a position to get started right away. So you haven't missed anything. Nobody can do that yet. And you'll be, like I said, we'll be issuing, emails that have the recordings of the other sessions, excuse me, that tell you how to go back and do that. And you can always give a call, me, Erica, Earl, Scott even would be happy to help people if they have trouble with that.
We have a couple of questions regarding email addresses. One that says we have members who do not share their email addresses. Another one that says that we have older members that do not have an email address or share an email with, what are their options?
Okay, so there's a couple of things about this. One of the things that we did manage to get an accommodation for is all of our current membership records. So everyone that was already in our system, if they did not have an email address, they have been grandfathered in and do not have to have one. Going forward, however, if that person at some point decides they're going to do something online, like register for convention, or they want to buy something from the store, they will have to put in an email at that time. But if all they ever do is you pay you and you renew their membership every year, they do not have to have one. Going forward, all new records that are added to the database from this point forward will require a unique email. Now, we understand that some of, especially older people, do not have one. There are options for you at the chapter to simply create a free email address for them from Gmail. They don't ever even have to use it, but it will satisfy the requirement that there be an email address.
Now we have a question, when and where will the recorded sessions be available to view?
Okay, I am hoping that I wanted to wait till tonight's session so that all 3 of them can come to you together. Hopefully tomorrow I will get an email out to all of you that received an invite to these sessions. I will attach the recordings, the 3 recordings, to that email so that you will have them to start viewing. They will also get posted on the new website. The reason I'm going to email them to you is because I'm not sure when our communications department will be able to get them on the new site because we're in just such flux right now. They might not be able to put them out there until we're live. So I want to get them to you ahead of time. So hopefully my goal is to do that tomorrow. So look for those emails then. What else you got, Erica?
I am looking and I think we have a question, since I've never had a batch as many as 25, is this a problem?
Oh, no, absolutely not. If you only have 2, or 1, that's perfectly fine. It's really dependent on the size of your chapter, how many people you're putting through at any given time. For some chapters, 3, 4 at a time is quite the norm. For others, 25, 50, 100 is more usual. So no, not a problem at all.
And I don't see any more questions. We do have a comment. It says that should not be our job to create fake emails for members.
And that is for you to address at the chapter level. All I can tell you is that this software product does require an email address. How you get it is up to you to manage locally. We're not going to dictate what you have to do. I just was offering a suggestion of something that could be done. Anybody
We have
else?
another email comment. The email address thing is really clunky. When someone pays for the membership, our system just puts in one email address. I really don't want to chase down or make email addresses for people. Can you consider changing this?
No, this is not something that I have the option to do. And again, this was laid out in that October memo. And if people have issues with that particular thing, I would suggest that this is probably not the best forum for us to debate about it. This is really a training session for how things work and how to do it. Those are questions that are more appropriate to address to your national directors or to your executive board members.
I do not see anything else coming in at this point.
Okay.
Well, so there
ahead.
was it says, so the second adult member cannot use the main person's email.
No, they cannot. Okay, so like I said, I do want to thank everyone for joining us. As I said, we are going to post the recordings of the sessions, and we are also going to provide some screen prints of the different pages that we've looked at. The sessions, the pages for yesterday's session and this afternoon's are ready to go. I'll try to get those to you with the email recordings. And then screen prints from today's session with hints and tips about what to do will follow very soon. Those are not quite finished yet. And also, in the coming weeks, as we've stated before, me, Erica, Earl, others on staff will be available to help you with questions, either one-on-one, or, we will probably put out some group training sessions that people can hop on and just, raise questions that occur to them, maybe hear what other people are having issues or concerns with. And we will get everyone through this. And I think, it'll be a good benefit going forward. I think it's a vast improvement on some of what we've had in the past. And we really look forward to putting this up and in place for everyone. So if nobody else has questions, I
There's a
will.
couple that did come in.
Okay.
So there's a question of clarification. They want to know that if they need the member's date of birth to change their membership, for example, to a family membership.
If you are upgrading them to a family, you will then need their date of birth.
Mary?
Yes.
Oh, it sounded like you went out for a moment. I'm sorry. Yeah,
Do you have anything else?
your audios keeps going in and out. I'm not sure.
Okay. I'm sorry. I don't know what to do differently about it. Can you hear me now?
Yes, way better.
Okay. Okay, so I did answer that question about the family upgrade. What else do you have?
Can a grandfather who doesn't have a spouse use their grandchild as a family?
Yes, that's completely appropriate, as long as they live at the same address. They cannot live at different addresses. Family members must reside in the same household.
And then someone else would like to be added for Zoom meeting notifications to their email, to the list that was used today. How would they go about that?
Okay, if you did not receive the initial emails, then please send us an email with your name and email address so that we can add you, and whatever your officer position might be, you could reach out to members@iwla.org and Erica will see that. And we can try to add you to the emails going forward. So again, let us know what your position is and your chapter and information like that.
We have a final question about bulk entry. It was not discussed. Is there anything that we can speak upon for that?
That is not something that we are are offering. Again, as we outlined in the October memo, you have options to either use the online portal, which is what we've just gone through, or to actually send us back the renewal notices with the barcodes on it for us to process, fill out the new member forms that we utilize. Those are the only options. We do not and are not going to be providing a bulk update option. Anybody else? Anything else, Erica?
I don't see anything. I was waiting just
Okay,
to give someone a couple of
okay,
seconds.
yep. Okay, then we will go ahead and stop recording and close things down. And if anyone thinks of questions after the fact, certainly we're not going anywhere. You can reach out to us and we're happy to help. And again, I thank all of you for your time this evening.